Make a story about the dawn of diplomacy, a time when ancient empires, weary of war, forged a path to peace that would echo through millennia. This is the tale of the Treaty of Kadesh, the first written peace treaty in human history, born from the clash of titans and the wisdom of kings. Our story begins more than 3,000 years ago, in 1259 BC, when the world witnessed a truly groundbreaking event. The two superpowers of the age, the Egyptian and Hittite empires, set aside their swords and chose dialogue. The result was the Treaty of Kadesh, a revolutionary document that established diplomacy as a powerful alternative to endless conflict, proving that even the most bitter rivalries could be resolved through mutual respect and understanding. To understand this monumental peace, we must first understand the war that preceded it. The stage was set in 1274 BC, near the strategic city of Kadesh, located in modern-day Syria. Here, two of the ancient world's most formidable armies prepared for a confrontation that would go down in history. On one side was the ambitious young pharaoh of the new kingdom of Egypt, Ramses II, leading his chariots and soldiers to expand his empire's influence. On the other was the mighty Hittite Empire, commanded by King Muatali II, determined to defend its territory. The ensuing Battle of Kadesh was a maelstrom of violence and chaos, a brutal clash of bronze and bravery. In the aftermath, both sides declared a resounding victory. Ramses II returned to Egypt and covered the walls of his grand temples, like Karnak and the Ramesseum, with magnificent reliefs depicting his triumph. However, the Hittites maintained their control over Kadesh, and the battle ultimately ended in a strategic stalemate. Neither empire had achieved its ultimate goal, and the conflict was far from over. For the next 15 years, a tense and uneasy quiet settled over the region, but it was not a true peace. The border between the two empires remained a flashpoint, with frequent skirmishes and a constant struggle for dominance. This prolonged state of low-level warfare was a heavy burden. It drained the resources of both kingdoms, consumed manpower, and weakened them from within. Both Ramesses and the Hittite leadership began to realize that this endless conflict was unsustainable. More importantly, a new and formidable threat was rising on the horizon, forcing them to reconsider their priorities. Several critical factors converged to push these two adversaries toward the negotiating table. A major catalyst was the growing power of the Assyrian Empire to the east. This emerging force threatened the borders and interests of both Egypt and the Hittites, creating a common enemy that made their own rivalry seem counterproductive. Economically, the continuous state of war was crippling. The treasuries of both states were being depleted to fund armies and border defenses, hindering prosperity and progress. In Egypt, Ramesses II had grand ambitions that went beyond military conquest. He yearned to focus on his monumental building projects, constructing temples and cities that would immortalize his reign for eternity. To do this, he needed stability and peace. Meanwhile, in the Hittite Empire, a change in leadership brought a new perspective. The pragmatic King Hattusili III ascended to the throne, recognizing that diplomacy and alliance were more beneficial than perpetual war. Thus, in the year 1259 BC, a historic agreement was reached. The Treaty of Kadesh was formally signed by Pharaoh Ramses II and King Hattusili III, marking a new chapter in international relations. The treaty was meticulously recorded into versions, ensuring its legacy would survive. In Egypt, it was carved in hieroglyphs onto the stone walls of the Karnak and Ramesseum temples for all to see. In the Hittite capital of Hattusa, in modern-day Turkey, it was inscribed in Akkadian, the era's diplomatic language, on a silver tablet, with clay copies made for the archives. This dual documentation allowed future generations to piece together this incredible story of peace. The terms laid out in the treaty were remarkably advanced and sophisticated for their time, establishing principles that remain the bedrock of diplomacy today. It was, first and foremost, a mutual defense pact. The text clearly stated, if another enemy comes against the lands of Ramesses, then Hattusili, the great Hittite king, will send his forces to help him destroy the enemy. This promise of military aid was reciprocal, with Egypt pledging to defend the Hittites against any aggressor. This created a powerful defensive alliance against external threats like the Assyrians. The treaty also established a formal non-aggression pact. Both kings swore an oath not to attack each other's lands and to respect the existing borders. This was a revolutionary concept, codifying the idea of perpetual peace between two nations for the first time in recorded history. Furthermore, The agreement included a clause for the extradition of political refugees. Both sides agreed to return fugitives and dissidents who fled across their borders. However, this clause came with a surprisingly humane condition: the returned individuals were not to be harshly punished. The treaty explicitly stated that they should be returned to their country in peace, a clause that speaks to a level of compassion and foresight that is truly astonishing for the Bronze Age. The document extended the spirit of amnesty, stipulating that no one should be punished for past crimes if they had fled from one land to the other. To give the treaty the ultimate authority and ensure its enforcement, the two kings called upon their gods as witnesses. Thousands of Egyptian and Hittite deities were invoked in the text, lending the agreement a sacred, divine sanctity. Breaking the treaty would mean defying the will of the gods themselves, a powerful deterrent in a deeply religious world. The commitment to peace did not end with the signed tablet. To truly cement their newfound alliance, the two empires turned to the age-old practice of marital diplomacy. In 1246 BC, Ramses II welcomed the daughter of the Hittite King Hattusili III to Egypt in a spectacular royal wedding. The Hittite princess embraced her new role, becoming a queen of Egypt under the name Motneferrer, which beautifully translates to "she who sees the beauty of the god Ra." This union was not merely symbolic. It created a familial bond between the two royal houses. The alliance proved so successful that Ramesses later married a second Hittite princess, further deepening the ties between the two former enemies. The correspondence discovered between the two kings reveals a relationship that evolved from one of suspicion to one of genuine brotherhood, filled with friendly exchanges and mutual respect. The treaty's legacy was one of profound strategic success. For over 80 years, peace and prosperity flourished in the region, lasting until the eventual collapse of the Hittite Empire around 1180 BC. During this golden era of stability, the two kingdoms engaged in vibrant trade, exchanged knowledge and culture, and worked together to maintain regional security. The significance of the Treaty of Kadesh has not faded with time. In 1963, the United Nations officially recognized its historic importance by hanging a replica of the clay tablet at its headquarters in New York. It stands there today as a powerful and ancient symbol of humanity's enduring quest for peace and the power of diplomacy to resolve conflict. The treaty offers timeless lessons that are just as relevant in our modern era as they were 3 millennia ago. It teaches us that dialogue is always preferable to war and that even the most entrenched enemies can find common ground. It shows that shared interests and common threats can unite adversaries, turning rivalry into partnership. The treaty underscores that respect for sovereignty and borders is the foundation of any lasting peace. Its meticulous documentation highlights the importance of transparency and written agreements in ensuring compliance. Finally, the royal marriages demonstrate how cultural exchange and personal connections can deepen and sustain peace far beyond the ink on a page. The modern world learned of this incredible document through a remarkable archaeological discovery. In 1906, German archaeologist Hugo Winkler was excavating the ruins of the Hittite capital, Hattusa, in Boski, Turkey. There, amidst the ancient archives, he unearthed the clay tablet version of the treaty. Its state of preservation was extraordinary, allowing scholars to directly compare the Akkadian text with the Egyptian hieroglyphic inscriptions. This discovery was a key that unlocked a fascinating window into the sophisticated world of ancient diplomacy, proving that these civilizations possessed a profound understanding of international relations. The Treaty of Kadesh is far more than just an ancient artifact gathering dust in a museum. It is a living testament to our collective human capacity to choose cooperation over conflict and peace over war. In a world still plagued by division and strife, the story of two Bronze Age empires offers a powerful reminder that we can achieve what they did. Ramesses II and Hattusili III, once sworn enemies on the battlefield, became brothers in peace. They left behind a legacy of hope, an enduring message that peace is always possible, no matter how great the chasm between us. This is the profound and timeless message of the first peace treaty in history.